Okay, apologies once again. Good morning. I was on mute and thank you for pointing that out. So I'll start again. I'll start again with the greeting. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second session for week 7. The theme for this seminar round of seminar presentations is cybersecurity. We're looking at cybersecurity. And we started off by talking about security as a concept, and we looked at the China threat theory or China threat as a security issue, and now we're moving on to cyber security. So after the after our I believe in week 13 or 14 there'll be the online unit evaluation will be open. So just a reminder that feel free to make comments and do your rating, make comments about the teaching and learning strategy used. I just want to remind all of you again that the teaching and learning strategy is purely online based, and it's student centered. We're using the seminar led approach to teaching. So we have these seminars and you present your answers to the questions, and we interact with each other and we learn from you people and what you have found out from the given literature and your answers to the questions. So at the end of the semester, around week 13, 14, the online unit evaluation will be open. This is our second year for my second year teaching this unit fully online. So I would appreciate if you can, comment and give your rating so I know or I see your feedback and then identify areas where I need to improve the teaching and learning strategies and my syllabus. So please make sure that you complete the online unit evaluation to help me improve the unit as I go along. So it's a new experience offering a unit fully online, and it came about because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm pretty sure by now all of you know that COVID-19 pandemics are a big security threat to all states across the globe. And we've seen how COVID-19 has changed the way we've done things over the past couple of years, the last 2 or 3 years. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our presentations for today. We'll start off with the representative for Group 5, Mr. Taudi Weber will kickstart the presentation. Carol, please go ahead with your answer to the assigned question.
Can you hear me? Okay, so let's begin. Hello and good morning once more, Mr. Yagera and everyone. So my group and I, after much discussion about our given question of the activity in the seminar participation, we came up with our answers to the question posed to us. What is political discourse on cybersecurity in English-speaking countries dominated by pessimists, according to Lindsay? So to begin our discussion regarding our answers to the assigned question, we would like to begin by defining important terms. Number one, the first term would be pessimist. So according to the online Oxford Dictionary, it defines the term as number one, a person who tends to see the worst aspect of things or believe that the worst will happen. The second definition for that, according to the Oxford Dictionary online, is that a person who believes that this world is as bad as it could be, or that evil will ultimately prevail over good. The second term that we would like to bring out and define across here is cybersecurity. So according to Cisco 2022, states that states that is the practice of protecting systems, networks, and programs from digital attacks. So these accessing or changing or destroying sensitive information, extorting money from users, or interrupting normal business processes. The third point, the third term that we want to define here is political discourse. So political discourse refers to discourse practices engaged in by all sectors, from politicians and organizations to citizens in a political process. So now, to answering the question, well, what is political discourse on cybersecurity in English-speaking countries, dominated by pessimists, according to the edition done by John R. Lindsay. In Lindsay's literary work, especially in the introduction chapter of the China and cybersecurity, he points to the general feeling of distrust towards China by most Western leaders. It explains that most of the Western leaders of states like the United States and the United Kingdom, seeing the rise of China and usage of the internet to pose, as well as the economic security structures. Thus, the notion of cybersecurity popped up. So he uses one writing from Barack Obama to prove his point of leaders from Western countries believing only the bad end result for them with the growth of China into a new emerging world power. And so I quote, "The cyber threat to our nation is one of the most serious economic and national security challenges we face," according to Lindsay 2015. So by properly analyzing what Obama meant, or our former president of the United States, and what he wrote, we discovered that he was referring to the Chinese internet hackers and possibly them posing cyber threats towards Western states, in this matter, the United States. And so to sum up our answers to the question, Lindsay argued that most English-speaking nations like the United States of America and the United Kingdom and Australia sees cybernetics with a pessimist view, feeling being threatened by China's vast internet citizenship. So despite having greater benefits from internet interconnections, their cybersecurity dialogue is more of a pessimist conversation than optimism. So the West strongly holds the view that China's emergence will only end up disadvantaging them in terms of cybersecurity and cybersecurity warfare on the internet. So that is our answer for the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taudi Weber, for sharing with us your answer to the question on behalf of Group 5. If you have any questions or comments for Carol, please note it down and you can share in our discussion forum for this week. We'll move on to Mr. Rudolph, who will be presenting on behalf of Group 6. Mr. Rudolph, please, can you share your answer with us?
Yeah, good morning all. Do you guys hear me? Okay, I'll present group 6. So the question that we were tasked to work on is, how did Edward Snowden's work help the Chinese audience to label American allegation of cyber threats from China as a thief crying stop thief, according to Lindsay and Chan? Okay, but before I go on to give my answer to that question, I would like to make something clear here that we all should take note of, because this will enlighten our understanding of US-China cyber threats allegations. So there was this student by the name of Marcus, and he was the tallest and fattest of all students. And Marcus was a bright student. He established relations with many students. He supported many students in many ways. His friends trusted him for security and protection. However, the bad side of Marcus was a bully at school. Sometimes he stole other students' lunch. And want anybody to be like him. He must be the only one above all. So whatever his interests are, those are his interests. No one can change them. He has influenced many students with his ideologies. And what he wants is to maintain power and be the only leader. And he wants to be above all. If he sees anyone rising, he's going to do anything at any cost just to take the person down. And he makes assumptions out of his own fear of dooming. So that's Marcus. However, a new muscular person rose from nowhere. This was unbelievable to Marcus and his friends. And his rising was like a threat to Marcus. Making of new friends is more like a threat to Marcus. Helping others is more like a threat to Marcus. This person's name is, I just got this name, the person's name is Caro. So Caro was a victim of most of Marcus' short-term bullying strategies. And Caro was so smart and innovative. He came up with smart ideas that are workable. At this point of time, as I'm talking, Marcus is alleging that Caro is stealing important things from his school bag when he's around, or when Marcus is not in the classroom. So this has resulted in a very strong statement made by Caro's best friends. They said that a thief crying, stop thief. So thank you, that's our short story. So Marcus represents US while Caro represents China. So it is like a short insight into China and US cyber threats allegations. So now to answer the question, how did Edward Snowden's work help the Chinese audience to label American allegations of cyber threats from China as a thief crying, stop thief, according to Lindsay and Zhang. So according to Lindsay and Zhang, Edward Snowden was a former US intelligence contractor. He leaked important and confidential documents to the press. And these documents provided dramatic public evidence that Western intelligence services were penetrating Chinese networks aggressively. Some of Snowden's documents suggest that the National Security Agency burrowed or set deep into the Shenzhen headquarters of Huawei in order to exploit the routers and switches used by a third of the world's internet population. So this revelation created considerable resentment in China in light of earlier American and Australian allegations of Huawei collusion with Chinese intelligence. So when US tries to make allegations on cyber threats from China, the Snowden's documents are what Chinese audience stands on and says, a thief crying, stop thief. Thank you so much. And that's the answer to our question.
Thank you, Mr. Rudolph and Group 6. A very interesting analogy used by the group and Mr. Rudolph. We also thank Carol for his interesting answer. I hope all of you have gained more knowledge about cybersecurity after listening to both of their presentations. Now we will move on to Tema, and after Tema, we will have Deborah. Ms. Dennis will present after Ms. Elliott. So let's listen to what Tema has to share with us. Tema is representing Group 7.
Can you hear me? Okay, so on behalf of Group 7, I will be presenting on the question, what is the meaning of the term advanced persistent threat according to Lindsay and Chang? So firstly, before I go into answering the question, I would just like us to again understand what cybersecurity is. So cybersecurity by now, we all should know, it is the practice of protecting systems, networks, and programs from digital attacks. So on to the second point, how is cybersecurity related to our study on the security of a nation? How does it affect a country's national sovereignty? So with the internet, which rapidly began its commercialization in the 1990s, a third of the world's population had access to the internet. Moreover, things on the internet, like the vast amount of knowledge that organizations and governments share, will lead to an exponential number of devices being connected to the network. As a result, that political and economic incentives to exploit the network for malicious purposes have also increased. And then, in that sense, nations become concerned with cybersecurity. So scholars now, because of that, have really been involved in the study of cybersecurity. So under cybersecurity, we have advanced persistent threats. So according to Cheng and Lindsay 2015, the 10 advanced persistent threat emerged within the US Air Force in 2006 as an unclassified reference to intrusion setbacks, sets traced back to China. So when people talk about advanced persistent threat, it's basically reference that is made to China's cyber attack on the US national security and economic other information. So basically, it's a broad term that is used to describe an attack campaign in which an intruder establishes an illegal long-term presence on a network in order to mine highly intensive data. So let's take this scenario. Of course, in an anarchical society that we live in, it is highly tense environment. So China doesn't know what the US motives are. US doesn't know what. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? So let me continue. So in this hostile environment, China doesn't know what the US is thinking. The US doesn't know what China is thinking. So they try to get to know what's going on in each other's countries. So they use this medium of trying to hack into another country's network to get data. So that can be classified under advanced persistent threats. Under advanced persistent threats, you have cyber espionage. It's a form of cyber attack that steals classified and sensitive data or intellectual property to gain an advantage over a competitive company or government system. Under cyber espionage, you can also have cyber exploitation, where this information is leaked online or to websites. And then you have also economic espionage, where hackers hack networks for the purpose for economical purposes. So hacking into networks and stealing highly intensive or classified data is and can come under persistent threats. So advanced persistent threats, or APT, targets include defense technology, foreign government policies regarding Chinese interests, positions of US presidential candidates, and all of those things. So I think that's all from group 7. I hope your lens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tama and Group 7 for sharing with us your answer to the assigned question. Very, very interesting answer. I believe many of you have picked up the important points that Tama has mentioned, the definition of the concept or the key phrase in the question. We'll move on to the final presenter, Deborah. Deborah is representing Group 4, so she will share with us the answer to the question. If you have any comments or questions for Tema, for Caro, for Abel, please share on our discussion forum for this weekend. My sincere apologies for the network issue. There is something beyond us. We cannot do anything, but let's just bear with the issue and we complete our presentation. Ms. Dennis, please go ahead.
Can you all hear me now? Okay. Firstly, I would like to apologize for joining the meeting late. There's a network, the network in the dormitory area is not that strong. So the question that we were assigned to work on reads, how did Dorothy Denning's work help us understand politically motivated activities involving the internet, according to Cavelty? Now, Dorothy Denning is a specialist in the world of information system, or rather the cyberspace. Now, she wrote about many articles in the field, but the one that stood out to me in relation to the politically motivated activities involving the internet is the subfield of cyber terrorism that Denning specialized in. She wrote a lot of articles about that subfield. So I would like to define that term, cyber terrorism, first. I know Modigai has defined that term yesterday, but in relation to this question, to this context, I would define the term again. Now, according to Dennings, in the reading of Chen 2014, she stated that cyber terrorism, and I quote, is the convergence of terrorism and cyberspace. It is generally understood to mean unlawful attacks and threats of attacks against computers, networks, and information stored therein when done to intimidate or coerce a government or its people in furtherance of political or social objectives. So now let's put a pin in that political objective. So all these acts were done to further a political agenda. So that's according to Chen 2014. So another definition of cyber terrorism I would like to relate to politics is defined as, and I quote, politically motivated hacking operations intended to cause harm such as loss of life or severe economic danger, end of quote. That is according to Chen 2014. So according to this decision, this definition, there's three parts to this definition. So number one is a politically driven intention. So let's put a pin in that, politically driven intention. And the other one is serious effects. And the third one is computer networks as the system. So when we talk about cyber terrorism, these hackers they use the internet or computer networks to further political agendas or to cause serious effects. But when it comes to politics, serious effects are just the casualties, but the main agenda is political. Now, Dorothy Denning, to answer the question, Dorothy Denning helps us to understand politically motivated activities involving the internet through cyber terrorism activities. Now, these activities include hacking of government information systems just to convey a political agenda, as I have mentioned. Or it can be to cause serious impacts to the government to get the attention of the government, which in its civilians can also be caught in the process. And now that our world is more computerized and we depend much on the internet servers can be hacked or compromised in order to disrupt a government stability. As Tema has mentioned, one of the points he talked about the hacking to steal data for economic purposes. So mostly in terms of politics, the hackers, Denning helps us to understand that the hacker's intention is to pass a message and not necessarily cause harm to the public. However, there are also casualties caught in the process. So that is the answer to the question 4 that I have come up with. Thank you. Welcome to
Thanks again, Elatania, for the. I didn't unmute myself, so I said thank you to the 4 presenters for presenting on behalf of the group, and also I mentioned that if you have any questions or comments for them, please share on the discussion forum for this week, either in audio or video form. And I hope you've learned something from our presenters today and yesterday. And we've already seen cases of cyber attacks in PNG. The Department of Finance IFMS system is one case in point. I hope you will continue to read into that and try to understand what happened and how did they hack into the system and cause inconvenience to the system. And one every time we are worried about the University 10 system, I know the servers are in Poland, but students are capable, especially those taking IS or MCS, they're capable of hacking into the University 10 system and then manipulate the grades on the transcript, because your transcript is printed based on the information from the Unit 10 system, which is based in Poland. So, and who knows, somebody might hack into Moodle and also manipulate the grades in the grade book. You got a C and you want all HD, so you can do that. So, with all these new information systems that many companies and universities and many organizations are using now, it's very important that we have cybersecurity experts working with us to safeguard the system from hackers. We have red hats and black hats, and white hats are good hackers. They work with the government and try to build up the firewall and safeguard information or data from being stolen by black hats and red hats. So it's a different world, the world of hacking and cybersecurity. So it's good that we're starting the discussion now, and then we'll hopefully monitor what's happening in our country and read the news and try to follow news about cybersecurity. And the Department of Information Technology, they're doing a lot with Stephen Mataino, the acting secretary or the secretary for the department, and they're working towards protecting PNG's data and creating an information hub and all that. So make sure you watch and read about what they're doing. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. Sorry for dragging on and saying a bit more. Taking up your time. So we'll stop here. And I wish you all a good day and thank you, our attendees on Zoom as well as Facebook. Thank you for attending and we'll continue the discussion next week Monday and next week Tuesday. Do we have a public holiday next week or when is Easter? The following week, I think. Okay. All right, so Lingard made a comment, DW shouldn't introduce network testing tools to students like Wireshark. Some of them use it for illegal intent. Yes, I agree with that. So it's very interesting. I mean, it's an interesting development that is happening now, cybersecurity and the capability of you students and other individuals within our society to use internet technology to steal information and use it to their own advantage. So we'll stop there and I'll let you guys go and complete the participation part of the activity. And apologies once again for our network. We are experiencing some difficulty with the network. It's unstable and hopefully next week onwards or tomorrow onwards we'll see some stability in the network and we'll go back to the way things are. So you all have a good day. Thank you for attending and take care. And see you again next week. Bye.